What's going on? Welcome to the draft board here on the JTFB YouTube channel. And we have breaking news pertaining to the NFL draft. We had a feeling that it was going to happen. I did not expect it to happen this early, especially before free agency. But the Chicago Bears have pulled the trigger and traded the number 1 overall pick to the Carolina Panthers, who have been in the running now for a couple of quarterbacks, and it seems like they are now ready to select their future franchise quarterback with the number 1 selection. So I'm going to talk about what this means for the Panthers and then what this means for the Bears moving forward. A massive trade for the NFL draft, just the first big domino to fall. And what was going to be a crazy free agency period, a crazy trading period, but then also leading up to the draft, there's going to be a lot of chaos. So subscribe to the channel and follow me on Twitter at JoshTaylorFB for all the latest content and just keeping you up to date on everything going on. Let's break down the full compensation. The Bears send the number 1 pick to Carolina for pick 9 and pick 61 in this year's draft, and then also a 2024 first round pick, which is massive for not only building this year, but building in the next 2 years, because they get a 2025 second round pick as well. And probably one of the most important pieces was landing, like I said, before free agency period hit, because they have all that money to spend out there with Chicago. They get star wide receiver. I call him a star wide receiver. I think is very underrated. DJ Moore, only 25 years old, super underrated, gone through so many quarterbacks, kind of reminds me of my own Terry McLaurin, just produces no matter how many coaches, quarterbacks, offensive coordinators he goes through. They lose a lot of weapons, and he's still there to produce. So big time get for Justin Fields, having a legit weapon. And they say, look, we're all in on Justin Fields, and I think they should be. I think he's going to be phenomenal moving forward. I think he's going to be a legit superstar for Chicago, and this move really solidifies that they're saying we're not trading him. We're not taking Bryce Young or one of these other quarterbacks at number 1. We are trading back and now have pick number 9. So I'm going to talk about what that looks like. But first, let's talk about the Panthers, because you do now have the number 1 overall pick, and you also have pick 39, pick 93, 114, 132, and 145 in this year's draft. So you have 6 total picks, including the first overall pick, which in my guess is what I'm seeing, what I'm hearing. It looks like CJ Stroud is going to be the selection at number 1. Josh McCown, the new quarterback coach there, is a big-time CJ Stroud fan. I think that's his number 1 quarterback on the draft board. He's my number 1 quarterback for a couple reasons, because after what you've seen not only at the combine, but just the body of work, I think Bryce Young has the potential to be better in the NFL. I think Anthony Richardson has the potential to be one of the best quarterbacks, but there's still so much work to be done with Richardson. And then with Bryce Young, there is a lot of size concerns. But I'm a giant Bryce Young fan. I don't really believe the hype and the concerns with his size. It never affected anything. He won the Heisman at that same size. He's balled out at Alabama. He has that it factor that really, like they said, Allen Iverson, Steph Curry feel to him, where he can just take over a game and run the point guard spot as that quarterback on any offense. But when you look at taking a quarterback number 1 with Carolina, CJ Stroud is the safest bet, but he is a phenomenal pick because, in my opinion, I think he's the most developed pure passer in this draft. The mechanics, the timing, the accuracy, I think he's the best. I think Bryce Young is right there with him. I think CJ Stroud can throw it a little bit farther than Bryce Young, but when you talk about the size, the durability, if you have those kind of concerns with Bryce Young, you're not going to have that with CJ Stroud. He's a much bigger option. He's, a legit full-size quarterback. I don't think Will Levis has a chance going number 1, but the way I look at it is you can't mess this up. You have that number 1 overall pick. Pick your guy, but don't do the Anthony Richardson pick. Don't just say, hey, we're going to, mortgage our next 2 drafts as well, give up our star young 25-year-old wide receiver on the hopes of Anthony Richardson, fixing those accuracy concerns, fixing those mechanics, and turning into a superstar. So I think CJ Stroud's a smart pick. Now at pick 39, I think they're in a great spot to pick up a really good wide receiver 2 option. I still think they need a legit wide receiver 1, whether it's in free agency or somehow in the draft. Maybe they decide to trade up again, or maybe I don't know, somehow land a legit wide receiver. I'm not too big on the wide receivers in this draft outside of Jackson Smith and Jigba and Jordan Addison. But at 39, I think they have really good options. Looking at a guy like Josh Downs from North Carolina, really good yak guy, more of a slot option. Same with the Zay Flowers, who can play inside and outside, in my opinion. Wide receiver out of Boston College. He's gained some weight. Really good separation guy. Really good separation wide receiver draft. You talk about the release packages. And probably one of the best, Nathaniel Dell out of Houston. Smaller guy, a lot of concerns there with his size. But I think you have really good options to get a legit playmaker in this draft. And then you're looking at a pick 93, have them getting a guy like Sam Laporta, tight end out of Iowa, tight end university, pushing out another really good one. Another guy that's super underrated, but getting a lot of hype and finally getting some respect within the last few weeks of the combine and this whole draft process. And then you can build out a guy like a Parker Washington, a 114, other really good wide receiver at Penn State. Maybe build a D line, got them getting Isaiah McGuire, edge out of Missouri, and then finishing out with Israel Abakanda, running back out of Pittsburgh at 145. Because Dante Foreman is a free agent. Not sure how much you're going to pay him and what that really offense is going to look like. So just build the offense with as many weapons as you can, because you have a really good young defense. And there's a lot of cheap guys. Yes, you have a guy like Brian Burns. I want another guy opposite of him. My guy, Grossman Toast out of Penn State, is on that other side of the line, but I want a legit D-line option outside of Burns opposite on the D-line. So build up the defense a little bit. It's already really good. It's really young, but just fill this draft with offensive players. CJ Stroud, number 1. Zay Flowers, 39. Sam Laporta at 93. Parker Washington, 114. And Israel Abikanda, running back out of Pittsburgh at 145. I think that'd be a great draft for the Carolina Panthers. So the Panthers, you trade up, you got your guy. And the Bears trade back. They already have their superstar quarterback. What does that look like? They have 10 picks in this draft. 10. And then, like I said, you get a first round next year and a second round the year after that. And you get your really young wide receiver, DJ Moore, to go with Darnell Mooney. And I'll say this, I really didn't get the whole Chase Claypool trade. It didn't make sense to me. I thought that was an awful move. I'm not a Chase Claypool fan. It's just he's in a really weird situation as a wide receiver. Not saying he's bad. I just don't like his skill sets. I don't like the fit in Chicago, and he didn't do anything once he got to Chicago. So it seems like it was a bad decision. So what do you do at pick number 9? A guy like Paris Johnson, left tackle out of Ohio State, probably not going to be there. That's your foundational left tackle piece that you would love. So for me, I'm looking at 2 different options. One is getting Broderick Jones, my number 2 tackle in the draft, left tackle out of Georgia, another guy who's going to be a foundational piece. Is he Paris Johnson? Maybe not, but I think he's really close. I think he's closer than a lot of people will admit. But then everyone's saying, hey, you really want to build around Justin Fields? Get that number 9 pick and go get Jackson Smith and Jigba. Is it too high? Maybe, maybe not. I don't think he would be. I think he really showed the body of work. This past season he was banged up, but he showed how great he can be and how slippery he is once he gets out there. And his stem, his release package is flawless. His breaking points are outstanding. And then after the catch, he's so hard to get. He's just out there on skates, and everyone else is just trying to keep up with him. So get a guy that Jackson Smith and Jigba is used to. You'll see that confidence just flourish when he's throwing the ball to one of his guys. But then also he has a legit playmaker on offense with Darnell Mooney, with DJ Moore, and you can do whatever you want with Chase Claypool. So I have a couple options. Maybe you do get Jackson Smith and Jigba at 9. I have them getting Kalijah Kancey at 53. If you last that long, this is just all mock draft stuff. Obviously, we don't know how the draft's going to go out, but getting an interior defensive tackle at 53, like a Kalijah Kancey, a little bit smaller, more of an agile guy, kind of got comparisons to Aaron Donald. I don't think he's as good as Aaron Donald, obviously, but they both went to Pittsburgh. They're both undersized D tackles, both played really similarly, really strong for their size. And getting a guy like a Steve Avila, left guard out of TCU, he can plug and play at the center spot as well at 61. And then maybe if he falls, Will McDonald at 64, edge out of Iowa State, one of the best spin moves on that edge spot in this draft. Just a freak athlete on the edge there. So build that D line, build the offensive line as well, and maybe go ahead and get that playmaker at number 9. You have the salary cap to spend on offensive line if you need to. Maybe you bring in a wide receiver, a veteran to kind of help out a little bit. But hey, go after Jackson Smith and Jugba at 9. There's nothing wrong with that. Go all in. So build your O-line, build your D-line. The free agency for the D-line is really good too, interior and outside. There's a lot of good options already, and there's going to be even more coming up in the next few weeks. So build both sides of the trenches and then get some legit weapons for Justin Fields. Your defense does have some good young pieces. My guy, Jaquan Brisker, had a phenomenal rookie season. Safety looks great, probably the best rookie safety last year. So I'm really excited to see what Chicago can do with these picks. But you are building for now an NFC that's pretty down. You know, Rodgers looks like he's probably going to be leaving. Tom Brady's gone. The Eagles have a lot of problems that they're trying to figure out now. They're probably going to lose Bradbury, might lose Slay. They might lose some D-line, offensive line as well. So you just don't know. The 49ers got Brock Purdy. He's going through surgery. So they just are trying to figure out their quarterback situation to start the season. There's a lot of question marks. Go all in. The Vikings are beatable. The Lions are building up right there with you. So you got to kind of keep an eye on the Lions. But still, go all in. You're investing in Justin Fields like you should. The Bears are building this the right way. Bears fans should be absolutely ecstatic about how this trade went down. Still a lot to happen. So like I said, subscribe to the channel. Stay tuned. Can't wait to break the news with y'all here on the Draft Board on the JTFB YouTube channel. I'll see y'all next time.